So there, yeah. So this is the Bras Basah branch of the PAP. Bras Basah branch was run by an assemblywoman, PAP assemblywoman called Madam Ho Pui Ju, her Pei Ju, and she was the one who pulled my mother into this. And my mother was at first an attendant in the Tan Tock Seng Hospital. Later on, she became a seamstress because she self-taught herself how to sew. And so she was pulled in by Madam Ho Pui Chu, assembly woman for Bras Basah, to teach this skill to young women.
So they are
And
sewing
so
in the photo.
they're sewing, yeah, they're sewing or they're making crafts or whatever that my mother could teach. So my mother knows a lot of these small things. So I think they're sewing something.
These are very young girls, actually, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So these are young girls preparing to go to work. Uh, no employment. Maybe they want to stay home and sew clothes.
Your
So
mother
like
is
one of my cousins.
your mother is the one standing up, right?
Yes, yeah, she's the one.
Okay. Show another one.
Yes.
I just moved down a bit. Okay. This.
So here again, PAP, all in white. You can see PAP. They're having an outing. So once every few months, the PAP activists will gather their members and the branch people to go out for outing. So they wear all white. And what they did was, after the outing, they will do cleaning up, make sure no rubbish left behind. I think this is what the Japanese are doing after the World Cup and all that. Like you hear it nowadays. But those days, that's what the PAP were doing. And I remember now, because of this, the Ong Eng Guan got galvanized the people by organizing cleanup parties armed with sweeping and cleaning equipment. They'll just say, okay, everybody get a broom, sweep. So that was what impressed. Yes.
Your
My
mother,
mother's the one sitting here.
was she
The two
Chinese
ladies sitting,
educated?
those days not educated at all. No education. Because she was born, supposedly, when I was born in 1947, she was born in 1928. She was 19 years old when I was born. Or that was what my birth certificate says. Whether she's older or maybe she's younger, nobody knows. But well, she's 19 years old when I was born. And in this picture, the two ladies sitting in front, she's the one sitting behind.
Did she
So that
know English or Mandarin?
she knows how to speak in Mandarin, but because she was working as an attendant in the Tan Tock Seng Hospital, she got to know many dialects, speaking to different people, and she spoke some broken English to get by with the nurses who are not conversant in Chinese.
Okay.
So, for example, those days, even taxi drivers, the traffic police, today we say traffic, they are called kalapik. Kalapik. And you pay a bribe to get a driving license. That's called a kopi license. Kopi license. So these are things that she pick up. But among the Chinese dialects, she's quite conversant because she also went to speak with patients sometimes. So she has got a heart for service, basically. So that was my mom. And she was drawn into this politics simply because she wanted to help out these young girls in the Bras Basah branch of the PAP. Yeah, so that was it.
Go on to the next one. This is with your father?
That's my mom. That's the 19-year-old mom. That's my dad. Yeah. He was working in the naval base. He was from Hong Kong, sent from Hong Kong to Singapore naval base before the war. And then war fell. He became a family friend because my mother's elder brother was a colleague of his in naval base. So he became a family friend. And after the war, so just digress a little bit. he had a family back in Hong Kong, a mother, 5 brothers, 1 sister, and a wife and 2 sons. And after the war, he went back to naval base to say he wanted to go home to where his tribe was staying. And then they came back the news to say, I think that was 1946, yeah. He tried to locate them, but the news came back later. He was called up by Singapore Naval Base Office and said, sorry, Mr. Kwok, the place that you say where you're staying, the whole place got bombed. No survivors. Every house is gone. So most probably you won't see your family again. So heartbroken, he fell into a depression. So on this side, my grandmother sees him as a good catch. Marry off her youngest daughter to this man. So that's my dad.
Was he
But
also politically active?
no, you see, because what happened was that he actually left us before I was born. The news came to him later on, about 2 weeks before I was born. That was what my mother said, that the Hong Kong Naval Base located his family. They came back to look for him. So he had to make a choice to bring my mother to Hong Kong or to go off himself. But my grandmother on this side says, you go. We'll take care of ourselves. You go. And to think about it, it was quite sad. And maybe because of that, my mom, I said I could say later on, herself suffer from some kind of depression. Because today in psychology, we call it bipolar disorder. Sometimes she can be so bright, and then sometimes she can be so down. But the down moments are when I get whacking. So she get angry over something. I become the whipping boy. Really whip, use a rotan, pin me to the ground. And then he went back. Much later, to other circumstances, we got reunited. And the first time I see my father was when I was 18 years old after my A level. But that's another story. But but back in Hong Kong, that was him. But here in Singapore, maybe my mom, instead of looking for a husband, devoted her spare time to go into politics. So that could be her thing. That could explain her
That does
involvement
make
in politics.
sense. Yeah, that does make
Yeah.
sense. Okay, let's see the next one. These are some cards, right?
Yeah. So the card on closer inspection, you can see the green card, the inspection, the lightning sign.
Yeah, the PAP.
That was the card.
Yeah.
So that's PAP. And the blue card, the ring with the star, that's Barisan. So that was it.
And
And
this
later on, I think
union, yeah?
the union card, Amalgamated Union of Public Employees, AUPE. AUPE at that time was run by Mr. Kandasamy. I think he was the PAP assemblyman for Little India. So they're all very political. So AUPE.
And that was because your mother was in Tan Tock Seng, right?
Yeah. And I think all hospital attendants hospital workers in the government service, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4. So my mother was Division 4. So I think this catering, this catered to the Division 4 employees. So my mother went to join the employees union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the
So
other
here
side,
again,
yeah.
you can see the other side. So my mother looking very much like a communist girl with her.
The plates, yeah.
So
this is
that was
1959. 1959.
that's the AP card.
Mm.
And then signed by, or rather the top is Ong Eng Guan,
Yeah,
Wang
that's right.
Yongyuan.
Yeah.
And then later on, she went to join Barisan. And then the Barisan card was, I think, the top is Lau Po Tak. Lau Po Tak.
Yes,
a PAP man who default, who who defected to Barisan. And then a couple of years ago, when they were launching the book Men in White, I think Lao Portak came back. He decided to to sign the form to say that he'll be out of politics, and then he came back and he was warmly welcomed. But others condemned him, say call him a running dog.
This is 1962. Yeah. And then this one is the Union, right? Yeah, correct.
So this is the
Division
was
4
where we
workers branch. Yeah, correct.
Division 4. Yeah,
right. Yes.
So because so 1960. Oh, can you see the date? I think very blur.
65. I think it's 65. Signed by Kandasamy, right? I think this is Kandasamy.
So 1965 was my A-level year, and then they were building this servants' quarters near the Tan Tock Seng Hospital, and she was a long service employee. She was there in 1947. She said, 1 month after you were born, I went to Tan Tock Seng to carry dead bodies. So that was what she told me. And being a long service employee, she, I think, was given some priority in the balloting. So she got into this. I remember A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, she got in block A, and then we stay on the 4th floor. So level 1 was 103, and then level 2 was 103A, 103B, 103C. So we were 103C. That's right. So that's where we were staying. We were staying. That was, and moving there was a great joy to me, because 1965, before move, we were still staying in the Kim Keat Lane SIT flats. The toilet was still bucket system, which can come as a surprise to some, but we are still using the bucket system. And I remember horribly the couple of months or weeks or months that the night soil carriers were on strike. So nobody carried away the bucket. So it was foul and stinky. And then the men in the neighborhood covered themselves with 6 towels, volunteered to pull the buckets to the nearest,
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
To the nearest drain to empty into the canal. And so it was terrible. But at that time, we could also see the value of neighbors helping neighbors. So it was a joint effort by the men. And then, boy, when the night soil workers, night soil carriers came back to do the job, we were lining up outside to applaud them. I think they won a slightly increase in salary. So they are welcomed by heroes.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that the SIT flats there did not have modern toilets, right? So this must have been quite old ones, right? One of the first built by the SIT.
Perhaps because that was called the Whampoa area. Maybe it was immediately after Queenstown. Queenstown could be the first. I don't know. So by among the first, because my birth certificate, 1947, place of birth, G6 Kim Keat Lane. So 1947, I think the flat must have been there even before I was born.
No, I mean Queenstown was only built in the 50s. So, but the SIT started building in about the 1930s, actually before the war.
Yeah. Thanks. So Whampoa could be some of the earliest.
Correct. Yeah. I have to find out more about that. Okay, let's go on.
Yeah. So 1965 was quite a year for me, because getting out of the SIT flats, going into so-called modern housing, at least with a flush system and running water. Okay, at Kim Keat Lane, there was running water as promised by the PAP. As promised by the Bong Omar unit. That was one of his his promises to get in his campaign. So we did have first lighting in the streets, and then we had running water. Before that was Block F and Block G, the back lanes installed only one standpipe. And then people will line up there with pails of water. Each one carry 2 pails, wait for our turn, fill up, and then carry home. So that was part of my childhood, carry water home. And then came the running water. And but once got into Irrawaddy Road, we got running water. We also got a flush toilet. Okay, we got to walk quite a distance to go to the bus stop, but it's okay. It's something that we can live with. And today, Irrawaddy Road, as you know, is where you see the Ministry of Home Affairs, and I think the police chief or whatever, side by side. So Irrawaddy Road has changed a lot now.
James, did your mother continue to be involved in politics?
She was, I think she fought in politics until after Singapore left Malaysia. So for her, is that okay? Singapore left Malaysia and independent, and I think now as I look back at it, perhaps she was thinking that don't spoil the son's future, because I was her only son, and and in those days for boys, if you are not good enough to go to uni, you end up as either a clerk or a teacher, and both means government worker. And if she's a member of the opposition and they trace the record, then my chances of getting a job might be 0. So perhaps that was the idea. But then what she said was that, okay, we are now out. No more. And it's quite true, because after my A level, I applied to be a teacher, and I was sent to Outram Secondary School. And then when college started, I decided to, it was back in 1966, I decided to specialize in PE, or physical education. And so went to college, very active in the sports side, got through, and in those days we are posted to a school in the day to teach in the daytime. I mean, in one section, either the morning, the afternoon, go to college. That time it was called TTC, Teachers Training College. It's along Patterson Road. Patterson Road opposite Lido Cinema. There's a Patterson Road. Today the building is still there, occupied by another organization. But those days it was just like those primary school buildings, 3-4 stories, the same. So I had my 3 years of training there, and then I went into. But even during training, I was assigned to a school, and I was assigned to a school, and the school is in a place today we call it. In those days it was called Senate Estate. It's between MacPherson Road and Upper Serangoon Road. So there are 2 schools occupying the same plots. There's Kwong Avenue School, KWONG, Kwong Avenue School, and next door to it is Senate Estate School. So I was assigned to Kwong Avenue School, where I was later on became the sports secretary and also discipline master.
So James, after your mother stopped her political activism when you became an adult, Did she ever talk about her political days with you? Look back upon those days?
She didn't actually, because at that time, even though I was in Irrawaddy Road, my mother was still back in Kim Kiat Lane because she was looking after her own mother. And I remember my grandmother was having Parkinson's disease. And my mother was busy looking after her. So she spends, looking after my mother, looking after my grandmother. And after that, yes, after that, she took on 2 jobs. Her daytime job in Tan Tock Seng was as a seamstress, and her nighttime job was as a dishwasher and sometimes food carrier in those Chinese restaurants. So Majestic lah, Tai Tong lah, Wong Hao lah, all these are the ones we hear about. So she was very prudent about saving money, and so her energy went towards her second job lah. After my grandma passed away. Yeah.
Did she ever talk about how she felt about the Singapore that the PAP built?
I can only hear her talking with other people, and I think what happened was they left PAP because of too high an expectation. They expect the PAP to perform miracles. Yeah, but later on, when yes, there was this incident. We were staying in Irrawaddy Road, rent free, right? And we are staying there for about 2 years, when suddenly there was a news, when she got notification from the hospital that we have to pay rent, and the rent has to be backdated for our term of occupancy there, which basically was unfair. So she went to the AUPE, and Mr. Kandasamy helped her, because my mother was a very fiery woman, and when she got a notice, she went with others to the main office in Tan Tock Seng to argue her case, say you're unfair and all that, and then it was a shouting match. And she came back to say that, oh, the Mr. So and so in the office came out and shouted at me, shut up. So that got her mad, and she almost took something and threw it at him. And so what she did was, she went to AUPE to see Mr. Kandasamy, and he fought for her, and he was still in the PAP. Yes, back to our Kallang assemblyman, Mr. Wang Omar Junit. After my A-level exams, I applied to join teaching. But immediately after my exams, I flew to Hong Kong, where I said I met my father for the first time. So I was there for about more than 3 weeks before I came back. But during that time, a letter came, government letter, asking me to go for an interview about my teaching job. But I couldn't attend on time. So what my mom did was, went back to our old friend, Mr. Wang Omar Junit. He's a very nice guy. Wang Omar Junit, the assemblyman. He was staying in Soochow Garden. Behind Thomson Plaza, there's a Soochow Garden. Wang Omar Junit. And I asked him and told him, oh, my son has gone to Hong Kong. He won't be back for this. Can you do something? And it seems he made a couple of phone calls and said, okay, no need interview. And so because of this, there's still some attachment to the PAP. And I think with age, she mellowed to say, well, perhaps I had too high an expectation of PAP. And later on, when she saw that after independence, 1965, the way Singapore got industrialized, so she was able to find, first, before that, she was doing part-time work in restaurants. But later on, she got full-time work as a cleaner in factories. Because when Singapore was industrializing, a lot of factories came up. Then also, after this, I think maybe the incidents of the Tan Tock Seng Hospital asking her to back pay rents and all the hula baloo, came this HDB project, building housing estates and all. And she applied, and we got a flat in Toa Payoh, block 115. I remember very clearly, block 115, address 416E, E being 6th floor. Nice HDB flats, bigger than the servants' quarters that we had in Irrawaddy Road. And so with the flat, and also with a second job as an office factory cleaner, she felt that the government is really doing something. So maybe she said, well, let's support our government and see whether it can continue providing for its people. And so I think with age also she mellowed. And so she didn't talk about the past. But there were people I know when after she quit politics, there were people who still came up to look for her in Kim Keat Lane, because she was there looking after my grandmother. And these are her former colleagues to come and tell her. And I remember them talking in Mandarin, trying to convince her to come back and say the path of the left wing is a path of struggle. We must struggle and win back our country. And they use the word left wing. I remember a guy coming in a motorbike, jacket and all that, coming here to almost like pleading her, go back, go back. I think my mother said, no, I'm retired. So that was it. And unfortunately, I didn't have the time to talk to her much about about her past life, because, well, I got married and we moved out from Toa Payoh and we stay on our own. And she died in 1991 of cancer of the lungs. So when she was diagnosed with cancer of the lungs, the Tan Tock Seng Hospital where she worked, I told the doctor she was never a smoker. And she lived a clean life. No smoking, no drinking. The nearest thing alcohol is when she was carrying the drink in the restaurant. She doesn't smoke and drink. Then they talk about secondhand smoke. Then I say, yeah. Her sister, her elder sister, her brother, the brother's son, all heavy smokers. In fact, when I'm doing homework, sitting at a small corner of wherever I could sit, smoke filled the air. So, yeah. So she died of cancer. And even those days, I had to send her down for radiotherapy after they removed her lungs and she had chemo. But then she had got to go back to Tan Tock Seng. By then, I have to get her a new flat in Yishun. sold away the old flats in Toa Payoh, got a new place in Yishun. Every day I got to drive from Ang Mo Kio to Yishun to send her to GH for radiotherapy. Doctor said that she got 6 months to live, but I think she lived for a year. And yeah, but during those times I didn't ask her at all. Perhaps I should, or maybe I was thinking she's dying, so no point talking about the past. I don't know whether what kinds of emotions it can stir up on her.
Yeah, but you still have the documents though. She passed you the documents.
Those are documents that she put in a box. So only after she has gone, then search around her belongings. I say, yeah, this box. And then there were those other documents. My birth certificate, of course, I had to keep because that was part of my application, job application. But her involvement in union and involvement in political parties, that was something I saw. Good thing that she didn't burn those. So my children were saying good.
Yeah, I just have one last question, James.
No problem.
Why do you think your mother, she wasn't much educated and she had basically to bring up the family alone? Why do you think she was so concerned and so involved in the political future of Singapore in the 50s and 60s?
Yeah, I think also because she could see for herself that we are victims of corruption, and we are seeing when our neighbor, because he's a police, corrupt. Well, we also saw things happening, and also we saw that the gangsters were given higher respect than the policemen. So perhaps she was thinking of a future for me and for my children. And if there's somebody or some party that comes around to promise to bring Singapore out of the colony, out of a colonial government, into a government where people are basically being cared for, maybe that was what inspired her. And I think also she was very much influenced by the Madam Ho Pui Chu, the branch, the assemblywoman for Bras Basah branch. And this, because this Madam Ho Pui Chu was a very hands-on person, and she really went all out to help people. So maybe she said, this could be the future. And of course, those days when our house situated so near to where the mass rallies were held, before the rallies, these people from the PAP will come into our house for drinks. Mr. Buang Omar Junid would be there, and once in a while, LKY would be there. But LKY seldom stopped by for a drink because he would rush from his lawyer's office to come for the closing meeting. But there was once, what happened was that he was writing a note to be stuck in to be sent to Ong Eng Guan. But Ong Eng Guan's car was still there, but I think he must have gone somewhere walking around campaigning. So Lee Kuan Yew was trying to stick a note into the car, but it didn't work. And so we are there looking at it. Then my mom went to talk to him. Mr. Lee, are you going to give a note to Mr. Ong? Yeah. Mandarin. So I said, I can help you. I'm so and so. I stay there. Okay. Nothing urgent, so you just. And then sure enough, when Mr. Ong came around to our place there to have his drink before going up to speak, so hand to him. So those days we could see all these VIPs, so to speak, big shots. So 2 years later, when there was this split and all that, that was, to my young mind, I say, what is going on? But later on, I say, yes. Politics.
I think you have to thank your mom, for all those wonderful memories of politics, right, in your childhood days that you didn't really understand at the time. Quite bewildering, right?
Quite bewildering. Yeah, didn't understand why.
Yeah, but
And then
also,
now I think,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So later on, I was still wondering why Workers' Party Mr. Chang won the election in '57, and then the following year he resigned, and then Wong Omar Juni came up. Then when I read Lee Kuan Yew's memoirs, he was talking about the Communist Party was represented by a man called the Plan, P-L, Penang, London, England, Norway, the Plan. Yeah. And he said that this guy, Mr. Fong, I think is in Mandarin is Fang Juan Pi. Mr. Fang Juan Pi's sister, Madam Fong Yin Chi, was a PAP assemblywoman for River Valley. I remember that. And in that, and Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's memoir said that when the Communist Party approached him to tell him that we are controlling everything, and Lee Kuan Yew asked them the question, can you prove it? Can you prove that you are so powerful? And LKY challenged him, challenged Mr. Fong, the Plan, the PLEN. If I want a by-election in Kallang, Workers' Party, you say you support Workers' Party, and now you want to support PAP. Can you get Mr. Chang to resign? And then I will feel a PAP man, and you bring and you make sure he wins. So when I look at that, I say, this fall into place now. So the following, just 1 year difference, the Workers' Party candidate lost his deposit. And suddenly this new party, PAP, come up with a dynamic Malay speaker being hugged on stage by Lee Kuan Yew. Warmly welcomed on stage by Ong Eng Guan. That explains it.
Makes sense now. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think the other thing from your memory is, you shared with us so many interesting stories about your mother and her efforts, and that tells us the importance of the women as well in the PAP.
Right? Yeah, yes.
It's not just the men in white, but also the women in white that we should acknowledge.
For example, one very dynamic speaker speaking Cantonese. She was known as she spoke Cantonese. I think it's her. I remember the surname Choi.
Chan Choi Siong, is that her?
Chan Choi Siong. Chan Choi Siong.
Delta.
Delta. And Chan Choi Siong. It seems that her family was selling Chi Chong Fan in Chinatown. Yeah. Chen Hong Kei, something like that. Chen Choi Siong. And she was up there dynamically speaking in Cantonese. 我哋工人, we workers. And she went on to marry Ong Pang Boon, Singapore's minister for, I don't know what, because they're shifting ministries. Ong Pang Boon was education at one point. Maybe in the beginning also he was education. There was Ong Pang Boon.
That's right.
Ong Pang Boon, Chan Choi Siong, yeah. So
And
they were a couple.
Because she was in Delta, she was at the Bukit Ho Swee fire, actually, talking to the fire victims. Yeah.
So you remember the name, Chan Choi Siong?
Unfortunately, she passed away very young, in a car crash.
Car crash, Holland Village, isn't it? Something like that. Yeah. She was very dynamic. And then she also came around and spoke Cantonese with us. Hey, 多謝又唔該你哋嚇，咁好招呼嚇。So, Chan Choi Siong. So we got to know a lot of all these people, like face to face. But of course, my mom would say, go behind, do your homework. I just come and say hello and say goodbye. But then I listen to what they say. But that didn't make much sense to me. But later on, then I say, yeah, okay, make more sense now. And yeah, Mr. Buang Omar Junid was really, he spoke in Malay, but he also could put in some Mandarin or Hokkien words. For example, he didn't say, he said, I represent the PAP. He said, 我是人民行动党的代表，我代表工人。And then he speak in Malay. It was fun. Another Malay speaker was a guy called Yaakob Muhammad. Comes in a motorbike, in a jacket, and then he go up there, and then, wow, skinny guy. He scream on stage, Merdeka! No. Kita mesti kuat, jangan merdeka. Merdeka. Kuat. So when we saw him, we said, kuat, merdeka. Then he laugh at us. Kuat. Use more strength to shout merdeka. So those some of my memories.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us your memories. And really, just like you took time, right? Took you some time to understand what was happening in the past later on.
Yes.
So Singapore is actually also, still learning about its own history, its own political history, social history, economic history, cultural history. And we look forward to more such memories in future episodes of Old Chronicles of Old Singapore. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you, KS.
We talk again soon, all right? Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.